Welcome back to the Stretch the Floor podcast. I'm Matt, and I'm here with Venush after one of the craziest weeks and most unexpected weeks of NBA playoffs in recent memory, at least for me. I don't want to talk about what happened in the first game of last night yet because I know we're both going to go off on that for like 45 minutes. But another really exciting game in the second game. The Clippers look like they might actually be going down 2-1 in the series until Kawhi saved the game with a middle finger block. Literally blocked.
Yeah.
Anyway, that was one of the weirdest blocks I've ever seen. Of course, it was Kawhi. That's such a Kawhi thing to do.
Yeah.
But what are your thoughts about this series so far?
Yeah, the Clippers Nuggets series. I think a lot of people had that as like a 5-game or even a sweep for the Clippers.
Yeah.
So Jokic is proving them wrong. He's doing what we predicted him to do. Actually score a lot of points. I think he had 30 last night. Zubac is getting into foul trouble really quickly. And then everyone else they have on the team, including Montrez, is just way too small to guard him.
Yeah.
So he's doing his part. Jamal Murray scored like 13 points, missed a bunch of big shots. So like he's not the same player as he was a series ago.
Yeah.
Which is kind of like what we always say about Jamal Murray. Like he's so on and off. But if he could string together 2 good games, 3 good games, this could be a 7-game series easily. In my opinion, at least.
That I think they really, really needed to pull that one out last night, and the fact that they ended up blowing it in the second half is going to be huge, and that just might kill all their momentum. I don't know, but they have been playing a lot better than I expected, and I think the main thing that I see from this is we all knew the Clippers had a problem at center, that they weren't able to guard big guys, but they haven't really been exposed too much until right now. Jokic is just exposing that, and I think 100% in the offseason the Clippers are going to have to address that.
Yeah, but also the thing is how many top contending teams have a dominant center? It's just LA and Denver. Like if they make it to the finals, they won't have a problem with it no matter which team they face. Lakers, like Anthony Davis, that's going to be a problem. But we've seen Kawhi kind of guard those lankier bigs and do a good job on them, like Giannis. But I think I honestly think it's the weight of Jokic that makes it so hard because he's just so much heavier than anyone on like the whole Clippers team. That he's kind of an anomaly in the NBA as well. Like him and Joel Embiid are really the only ones that are that big but like heavy, and then also are like dominant scorers. We kind of don't have those in the NBA anymore. So like the Clippers might just be trying to like squeeze by this Nuggets team, and it might not have that problem again in the rest of the playoffs. Because Kawhi Leonard could guard Anthony Davis a decent amount, in my opinion at least. I think,
and especially the way that the Lakers secondary players have been playing the entire bubble, really. You could send 2 guys at Davis if you wanted to. Consistently.
Because Paul George is going to do a decent job on LeBron. Yeah.
Speaking of Paul George, we finally saw playoff P last night. 32 points. Led the team scoring. Led the game scoring.
What people also are failing to realize is the Clippers bench is also performing kind of drastically bad, like compared to the pre-bubble.
Oh, yeah.
Like Lou Williams not scoring as much. Montrezl Harrell is not playing to the 6-man standard. So once they pick up the scoring, like it's going to be a much different team than what they're feeling out right now. But we also have to give credit to the Nuggets defense because maybe those switch defenders and those smaller guys are just causing that much trouble for Lou Williams and Montrezl Harrell.
Yeah, that's really true. I think they definitely need to get their bench going in this series because that is one of the main reasons that I put them over the Lakers pretty much the whole season. And if they don't have that bench going, that ridiculous 6th and 7th man and Williams and Harrell just giving you like 40 points combined a night, like that's one of their main things going for them, I think. So they definitely need to do that in the series. And I mean, that's kind of all I have to say about this series. The Nuggets, I expected them to definitely not put up this much of a fight. I knew Jamal Murray was gonna get shut down, but the fact that they, after having such a long series and being just dead tired from their 7-game series, coming out with this much energy and this much competitiveness is just really impressive and unexpected, I think.
Yeah, and we're both still keeping with our prediction of Clippers in 6.
Yeah, for sure.
So
100%.
we still expect Nuggets to win out one more game.
Yeah. I just wonder if they're going to make it, if they're actually going to make it a series and make it a 2-2 instead of a, like a 3-1 and then.
Instead of, that'll be interesting because it's all kind of depends on Jokic. He has to continue playing at this MVP level.
Yeah.
Jamal Murray just has to step up to an all-star role.
And to be fair, Kawhi Leonard hasn't really been having his best series. He's kind of cooled off. He was kind of quietly having like the best playoffs out of anyone. Just like super low key. And the last 2 games he hasn't really been that. I just wonder if it's the lack of load management or fatigue, or if it's just a couple off games.
Yeah, the thing with Kawhi is like he kind of always performs in the playoffs, and you always expect him to perform in the playoffs. And with his historic run that he had last year with the Raptors, we kind of just expect him to build on that and keep going. But he's definitely one of the best playoff performers. He's almost in the same essence as like LeBron, where you just expect him to dominate playoffs no matter what happens in the regular season.
Yeah, no matter
and
what.
He was up to that until the series. And then Jalen Grant, we have to give him a lot of credit. He couldn't stay in front of Donovan Mitchell at all. But when you get a little slower, that speed difference from Mitchell to Kawhi has made it a lot easier on Jalen Grant.
Yeah. Anyway, I think that's pretty much it for that series. We can move on to probably even more exciting series.
The Lakers versus
the Lakers and Rockets.
Yeah.
So I was shocked when the Rockets pulled out game 1 because they were just coming off a super long, tiring 7-game series too. And I thought it would be a close series, 6 games at least, but I really did not expect them to win game 1. And I was super impressed with James Harden's performance, even through the first 2 games.
Yeah, everyone's going to kind of forget about James Harden's amazing first 2 games because the only person that's getting talked about for these last 2 games is Russell Westbrook.
Oh my God.
He is getting the Ben Simmons treatment.
Yeah.
Where his guy is literally running to guard, to double James Harden or to stay in the paint and provide driving help. And he just can't hit a shot to save his life. He can't control the ball to save his life.
Yeah. Because in the first half of the season, he was having a historically inefficient season. He was shooting a pretty high amount of threes for him, missing almost all of them. And then something just clicked when they traded Capella. Westbrook just started basically playing like a center, took no threes at all, took no early shot clock jumpers, and just drove the paint hard every time. And he was literally leading the league in paint scoring for a few months. And now, like watching this series, it's really frustrating to watch because he'll just pull up early in the shot clock, transition 3. Like, I don't know what he's doing. You've missed the last 6. Like, why do you think you're going to start hitting threes now? Just, he's one of the most unstoppable drivers to the basket in the game. I don't know why he just hasn't been doing that.
Yeah, and the couple of times he's driven late in the fourth quarter, we've seen those incredible LeBron blocks, which are all over social media. So, but I don't think Westbrook, most fans don't think Westbrook is a guy that get deferred by 2 blocks. Like, he's very confident. He's very outgoing, and he's not someone we'll talk about later, like Siakam, who gets deferred by 1 or 2 plays.
Don't get me started.
So, but the good thing is, imagine how bad your second best player has played in 2 games, and you're 1-1.
Yeah, I know, and they were leading in the second half of game 2, man. And I think the main reason that
it's bad, then they could keep this going and they could actually upset the Lakers. Because I had this series going 7, and I said the Rockets have a chance. I said the Rockets have a chance to beat the Lakers. A lot of people don't see that. A lot of people still can't see LeBron and Anthony Davis losing to a 6'5", 6'6" team.
Yeah.
But this team is unique. It's the first in the NBA. It's a trendsetter.
Yeah.
And it's gonna be a good series. And this series has a lot of potential to change the NBA too.
Oh yeah, definitely. And I think LeBron and AD were definitely more aggressive in game 2, but game 1, the main reason they lost, I think, other than I mean, Harden scored 30-something points. He didn't like go totally off. He had a really good game, but AD and LeBron just were not aggressive enough. They both took under 15 shots, I think, each, something like that.
Yeah.
And they were more aggressive in game 2, and that's ultimately, I think, why they ended up pulling it out. Because Houston's obviously always going to go on these two-quarter long runs where they're just hitting every three, and then it's going to come crashing back down where they can't hit one for the next quarter. So the game, they could be down by 20 early like they were in game 2, and they could go up. But I think if LeBron and AD just stay aggressive and punish, because I don't think one person on Houston can guard either LeBron or AD at all. And I think they can get whatever they want. They should both be averaging like 30 points a game at least in this series, I think.
Yeah, Covington and PJ Tucker are doing a great job so far. They did a great job in game 1. And they did an okay job in game 2. They tried their best, but they were just making tough shots, LeBron and Anthony Davis. So if those two keep playing that type of defense, wouldn't improve the Westbrook. And the thing about Westbrook is he needs to grab more rebounds too. I know he got 10 in game 2, but I need to see him kind of like the Andre Drummond of this.
He's their best
Houston
rebounder.
Rockets team. Yep. And the thing is, PJ Tucker's going to be trying to push Anthony Davis so far out of the paint that he's not going to be really in rebounding like opportunities, that someone else has to come step up. Yeah. And I think Rondo is getting a lot of run because of his defense and his ability to like facilitate when LeBron's down in the post. So I think to combat Rondo being on the floor, I think Westbrook just needs to sag off and be a much better rebounder.
Yeah. Because the second chance, like other than the pure size advantage that the Lakers have when on the like in scoring, the second chance points that's just a killer for Houston. That's just because the Lakers are one of the best offensive rebounding teams, period, against any team, and against Houston, it can get it. That's just a huge factor in this series. So yeah, you're definitely right.
Yeah, but someone I mentioned quickly is Rondo. We have to talk about how good he was. Yeah. He was a plus 22, and in the first half when they were up 20, he had 7 assists and 3 steals. He finished the game with only 8 assists and 5 steals, which is kind of underwhelming for how good his first half was.
Yeah.
But his defense on Eric Gordon, on James Harden once or twice, and on Westbrook is amazing. Like, he's not A.B. Bradley or what A.B. Bradley was for the season. But if Rondo could keep playing this way and actually, like, kind of make the guards of opposing teams a little wary about how they're dribbling and stuff, then just work a little bit before.
And just having one more guy who can
Anthony Davis.
Yeah, and just having one more guy who can dribble and make a pass other than LeBron on the floor is just huge for this team.
Yeah, but the problem with Rondo is versus Caruso, where you see Caruso get a little more run, is Rondo cannot hit a jump shot.
No.
To save his life.
Not at all.
And that's going to be tough to facilitate because Rondo and the JaVale McGee and Dwight Howard both going to be on the same floor. But I really don't think JaVale and Dwight Howard have an opportunity to play, in my opinion, for this series.
Yeah. I mean, the only thing is if they can grab a ton of offensive boards and get finish lots of lobs and stuff like that, they can stay on. But if they're not giving you that on the offensive end, then there's no way they can stay on the floor.
Yeah, because it also pushes Anthony Davis a little farther out too.
Exactly. Yeah.
You don't want 2 guys in the paint. So that's why I say they can't be on the floor.
Yeah. So moving on to the East, I think the last time we recorded, was it Miami won game 1 last time we recorded, I think, right?
1, yeah.
And suddenly they were up 3-0. And then the Bucks ended up making it a 3-1 series, and they played in about an hour tonight. It's still unclear whether or not Giannis is playing. But first, how did Miami end up getting a 3-0 series lead? What happened?
Coach Bud just didn't play his players enough. An MVP who's 26 years old, his co-star who's 28 years old, and the third star who's 29 years old should all be playing 42 minutes in a playoff game where the score ranges within 5 to 6 points. And I truly think if they played 42 minutes to 44, they would be either 2-1 or up 2-1 or down 1-2. I really think they would have got at least one of those games.
Yeah.
and it would have been a series. It would have been a 2-2 series where we're like, he might did a really good job, but the Bucks are starting back. It's really competitive, and we'll talk about it like that. But Coach Bud decided to play his players 35 to 36 minutes, and they're no one is aggressive until Giannis got injured. Everyone just kind of just sits around and watches, and the system just doesn't work in the playoffs because they're going to build a wall, which the Raptors demonstrated how to do last year, and they just did the exact same system. They built a wall around Giannis, and the shooters, they shot really well for game one, first half, and then they haven't shot that well. Brook Lopez is not looking like a stretch 5 anymore.
Not at all.
It's kind of just looking like a normal 5. Yeah. So I don't know what this team is just folding under the pressure, in my opinion, and I think they're going home today.
Yeah. So, I mean, Giannis caught a lot of hate when they went down 2-0, and it got even worse when they went down 3-0. And it's obvious watching these games that if he had anything resembling a consistent jumper, he'd be able to shoot over that wall, and that would not be an effective way to stop the Bucks. But I don't think it's fair at all to put this on Giannis. Especially, we saw him come out before he got hurt in Game 4 and was just going nuts. 19 points in 11 minutes or 18 points in 11 minutes. Right at the beginning. I think, like you said, Coach Bud, I don't know if I'm not going to say he's on the hot seat, but I completely agree with you that he does not play. He's the opposite. He's the anti-Tom Thibodeau. He does not play his players nearly enough. And we look at, like, if he had decided to if he were the coach of the Raptors and decided to coach that way in Game 3, the Raptors would probably be swept right now. So I don't know. That's just, he's going to need to make adjustments. That's always been the knock on him. He's never really had playoff success at all. He's one of the best regular season coaches of all time, but he's never had playoff success, and he's going to need to make those changes really quickly. And another thing is, I think the roster just gets exposed in the playoffs. It becomes so clear that they need a second guy who can create and make his own shot on the perimeter. I just don't think Bledsoe gets it done in the playoffs. George Hill's a good shooter and a good veteran, but I don't think he's enough. And Middleton has not been aggressive enough the entire playoffs, but we finally saw that in Game 4. And that was one of the most fun games to watch for me.
Yeah, but I have to put it, before you, like, the rosters put into question, it's just the system not allowing players to do that. Because we've seen Brogdon, who's kind of just a catch-and-shoot 3-and-D guy in Milwaukee. His first year without the team, he's averaging 7 assists, almost 20 points, and with Victor Oladipo being down, he was like the main guy kind of on that Bucks team to facilitate Sabonis, Miles Turner, TJ Warren, and he was living up to that responsibility, but he showed no flashes of that with the Bucks because it's the system, in my opinion. Fair. And I think if Coach Bud does lose this in 5, I think if he loses today, he will not be coaching the Bucks next year.
Really?
But I think he will get a job. I think the Sixers. I think the Sixers, if someone will pick him up, Sixers, Pacers, Pelicans, one of those teams will pick him up. But I just can't see massive changes happening to this team. Like, I can't see, like, there has to be massive changes because they got one more year with Giannis. And if they lose in the second round again, then he's gone. Like, there's no chance he stays with 2 second-round exits. Like, he needs to make the finals next year because this series is kind of wrapped. You can agree with that. Like, even we expect the Heat to win it. Yeah. We don't expect the reverse sweep to happen for the first time in NBA history. So, like, I expect the Chris Paul trade to be talked about, be in a lot of rumors. I expect Coach Bud to be gone and Ty Lue to come in and replace him. I expect huge changes because if you lose Giannis, that's going to be devastating. Especially for nothing.
I'm not going to say that I expect Bud to be gone, but I think it might be the move because, I mean, he's probably the most respected and successful regular season coach that we have in the league right now. But it's not a coincidence that his team just don't have playoff success. He's never won a finals, and
He's
his
never made
Bucks
it to the
team,
finals.
his Bucks team, that last year and this year were both regarded as at least the East favorites. Didn't make it out of the conference finals last year, and lost in a pretty embarrassing way last year. And aren't going to make it out of the second round this year. I think you're right. I think that has to be the move. I don't think it's going to happen, but I would like to see it happen. And I think Chris Paul has to be the answer here. Chris Paul posted a video which looked a lot like a goodbye to Oklahoma City. I don't know. It's not really in his hands, but if the Bucks can somehow get their hands on Chris Paul and go all in on what is looking more and more likely to be Giannis's final year, I think that would just be one of the most ridiculous duos in basketball if Chris Paul can be healthy, which he has been this year. That would be insane. I would put them as championship favorites, I think.
And I honestly think that's the best trio in the NBA right now, at least, unless something gets formed in the offseason. I think Giannis as the number one option, Chris Paul as the number two option, and Middleton as the third option. That's definitely the best trio in like the NBA for next season. And also what they got to keep in mind is if they don't win right now, well, like Giannis, like even if his first intention is not to leave, superstars are going to be able to try to convince him to leave. We know the Raptors are going to make a push for him. We know they're going to keep their cap flexibility, and they're going to try to keep that Siakam, Van Vliet, and push for the Giannis with the Toronto Greek culture and the Masai connection. And we know teams like Golden State are also going to be pushing for him with the shooters. Yeah, Miami with Jimmy Butler. So it's going to be tough. It's going to be tough.
The last two playoffs, Giannis has been probably the overwhelming favorite against two teams that were considered underachievers and not nearly as good on paper, but by their just how hard they play, how well they're coached, and how much team chemistry they have, look like it's going to be 2 straight years of Bucks losses. So just imagine those teams with Giannis. That would just be a wrap, I think, for the league.
Yeah, it'll be tough. It'll be tough for them to comprehend. And we know, I really don't think the Bucks will be able to bounce back for losing Giannis for nothing relatively quickly or like at all, to be honest, because they really don't have any like potential on their roster for like a superstar.
I don't think so.
Yeah, so there will be another rebuild, and that financially wouldn't be the best move. So I could really see them making a balls to the wall push and getting that $40 million Chris Paul contract.
I think they have to. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I don't think it's fair to put all this on the Bucks. I think you got to give the Heat credit because Dragic has been playing like an all-star. Tyler Hero and Robinson have been playing like they did all season, hitting just some ridiculous shots, and even like Kelly Olynyk is giving them good minutes. Bam Adebayo, there's not one guy on that team that is not giving them really solid minutes when he's on the floor.
Yeah, the thing with Dragic, we have to mention Eric Bledsoe. What happened? Now, correct me if I'm wrong. Wasn't he first team all defense last year?
I believe so.
So I can't see someone who was first team all defense to allow a bench player to become a starter and be the most impactful player.
Not just a starter.
Like that's just
all-star.
Embarrassing.
Yeah.
Like that's embarrassing for Bledsoe, because if you took anyone else on that all defensive first team, like no offense to Dragic, but he's getting shut down. Like he is not scoring. Like Marcus Smart would do a much better job on him. Like Eric Bledsoe was considered a top tier defender. He was considered one of the best 2 guard defenders last year.
Just behind
and this
Ben
is
Simmons,
how he's playing.
Probably.
Yeah, like now we put him behind Ben Simmons, Marcus Smart. But last year it was him and DeJounte Murray, or
Murray last year. Murray was injured all last year.
It was, I don't know who it was, but he was one of the top 2 defenders.
Yeah.
And that was crazy. And now he's just getting destroyed by a left-handed 31-year-old who came off the bench the whole season.
And he can't.
I think that's embarrassing.
He can't hit a shot, and he just Yeah, Bledsoe. It's been 2 straight playoffs now where Bledsoe has looked like the weak link on the floor offensively for the Bucks, but defense was never the problem. That was something that could always keep him on the floor, and now his defense is in question, and he has not been able to stop, like you said, kind of slow, old veteran Goran Dragic. It's not looking good for Bledsoe. Definitely not.
Yeah, like one of the reasons our predicted Eastern Conference Finals was the Raptors and Bucks, and one of the reasons we had the Bucks winning so easily was because of Bledsoe's defense on Kyle Lowry. We're going to be like, oh, he's going to have such a good job. He's going to shut down Kyle Lowry. But him not even being able to shut down Dragic is a real shocker, in my opinion. And someone who's kind of been overrated in the series, in my opinion, is Jimmy Butler.
Yeah, I agree. Way overrated.
People are saying he's MVP level.
No. He went
a top 5 player in the league right now.
He went off in game 1, totally carried the team in game 1. He scored like 10 points in game 2, and people were saying, "Oh, Jimmy and the Heat get it done. Jimmy carries the Heat to another victory." He took like 5 shots that game. Like, I do think he hasn't been playing badly. He's just not been that aggressive every game because he's this year he's been more of a playmaker than I've ever seen before, and he's been really deferring and really, even if he's not getting the assists, he's getting those like hockey assists, and just really keeping that offense flowing. And he just refuses to take even the most wide open jump shots, and he just attacks the rim every time and gets to the line a ridiculous number of times. I love the way he's playing, actually.
Yeah, the thing with the Heat, I think if anyone's going to get a lot of credit, I think it has to be the coach. Coach Spoelstra is honestly, in my opinion, I always had Nick Nurse as the second best coach in the league because we don't talk about Greg Popovich because he's established himself. But Spoelstra, man, like he is really like his ability to switch and have such a deep team in the playoffs do so well is kind of like unprecedented. We've never seen 10 guys being able to play and produce so well in the playoffs. It's always been a short rotation. Like even Nick Nurse, he runs an 8-man rotation. But Spo is able to do it for he's able to switch in these guys in and out, and that defense, that portability, the switchability of this team is crazy.
Yeah, it is. And the Heat are looking scarier and scarier every day, and they're a legitimate finals contender. I don't know if they're a championship contender, but they could totally make it to the finals. Totally. And I can't believe I'm saying that.
Yeah, I can't believe I'm saying that too. I can't believe I'm agreeing with that. But one of the things we have to talk about too is Jay Crowder being one of the best midseason pickups.
Yeah.
Since like Rasheed Wallace, or since Marc Gasol last year too. I can't discredit him. But there's always one of these midseason pickups that are just amazing and help this championship run. And Jay Crowder is amazing this year in helping this championship run to the finals at least.
Man, this team has the feeling. Yeah, this team has a similar feeling to Toronto last year. It just does. Just the midseason pickups, the depth, the random guys coming off the bench and having crazy seasons and crazy playoff series. Now Jimmy isn't Kawhi, but I think the back end depth on Miami is better than the back end depth that Toronto had last year. So I don't know.
Yeah, and I'm a firm believer that stars win your rings. And that statement that you put in there, Jimmy isn't Kawhi, is why I think this Miami team is still not a championship team.
Yeah.
But
I mean, the stars, the Kawhi, LeBron, AD stars have not really, have they been playing that much better than Jimmy Butler in these playoffs?
Kawhi Leonard has 2 games where he scored under 20 points.
Yeah, okay, I'll relax on that.
And LeBron has 1 game where he scored under 20 points, but that was in a win. It was a 10-6-7 he had, and it was in a win.
Yeah.
Like, those guys are just so consistently good that for them, when they have a bad game, it's still better than a Jimmy Butler bad game.
So last time we talked, I felt very similar to how I feel now because the Raptors got blown out in game 1, and then they won 2 straight, and I felt really good. I thought we were definitely going to take game 3, and it happened again. What are your thoughts as a Raptors fan?
So now we're down 3-2 in the series, and I really can't see a game 7 even happening, to be honest. Like, I just think this team is so it's so inconsistent. We just don't have a star to like give the ball to and be like, hey, no one's hitting shots right now, so can you go like shoot the next 10 shots and kind of keep us close in this game? We just don't have a player that's like that. They have a player that's like that. We've seen Jason Tatum do that.
Like that.
I don't think they have two guys that are like that. I think it's just Jason Tatum. Because
I think Kemba's been really good in the series. Really, really, really good. He's been a problem. But Tatum is obviously the guy on that team.
Yeah. Tatum has been a consistent 18-point scorer this whole playoff run. Like, he's just someone that can consistently get you points. And I think that's what's, in my opinion, honestly, he's becoming the second or third best player in the East with the way he's playing.
I agree.
Like, he's just so consistently good. And then in the fourth quarter, someone steps up. It's either Kemba Walker, a Jaylen Brown, a Marcus Smart. It's just that guy. There's always that guy that can weather the storm, weather the runs of the Raptors, keep the game close. And then when they're all playing good, it's just a blow up.
See, I agree. I think they've had a good offensive series, but I don't think that's the reason this is looking like a pretty convincing series win for the Celtics. It's all about the offensive end for the Raptors. The Raptors have done a pretty decent job. Tatum's had his games, Kemba's had his games, Jaylen Brown's had his games, but for the most part, the defense has been putting them in a position to win games, and it's all about offense for me. And how do we not start with Pascal Siakam? I think the reason I had the Raptors in this series is because I thought, okay, we have a nice size advantage, right? We got Siakam as a mismatch against any defender on that team. You can go back to old podcasts and dig that up. I said that a bunch of times. I was like, Ibaka and Gasol are bigger than any 5-man that they have, and our guards play big. OG's pretty big too. We're just going to outsize them, and that has just not been the case at all because Siakam cannot score in the paint, and neither can anybody else.
Yeah, the best player on the Raptors might be Serge Ibaka on the offensive end, just because of his energy. Because you just see him moving a lot more and driving a lot more. Marc Gasol is honestly regressed so much.
That's one of the biggest things too.
Like, I honestly think, like, I don't know if it's like an injury. I don't know if it's like him just being satisfied with one championship. Maybe the hunger not being there as to win your first championship. Or maybe the belief's not there because Kawhi Leonard's not there and you're not playing as hard. But I don't know what's happening with Marc Gasol because he literally looks like a completely different player. And to be fair to him, last year we ran up against centers in Vucevic, Embiid, and Giannis. And this year, we're really not going up against centers. And we even had DeMarcus Cousins in the finals too. So kind of last year's playoff run was built for Marc Gasol versus this year's playoff run that's kind of built against Marc Gasol.
Yeah. He hasn't hit a 3-pointer all series. He hasn't hit one all season against the Celtics.
Yeah.
So he's good. A 0. He's a negative on offense. Siakam has been a negative on offense and a huge negative on defense, I think. The two, Kyle Lowry has been having a ridiculous series. OG has been having a really good series. Serge Ibaka is having a good series, but he's injured. It's questionable whether or not he's going to play tomorrow night. And Fred VanVleet has not had a good series, though. He had a good game 3 or game 4, but other than that, nothing, really.
Yeah, Fred VanVleet, in my opinion, has just been asked too much in the bubble. Because if you looked at him pre-bubble, he'd always have to be the third scoring Raptor. As long as he was facilitating, either Powell would step up, Ibaka would step up. Now he kind of has to be the second scoring Raptor because Siakam sucks. And he also has to be the second playmaker. And he also has to guard the best defender.
Yeah.
Like, we're asking too much of him, and it's clearly not. He clearly can't do it. Like, this was his max contract series, in my opinion, because if he was able to do all those things, be the second best scorer, be the second best playmaker, and be the best defender, I honestly think he would be deserving of a max contract.
Yeah.
But he couldn't do it, and his contract's probably going to be $20 million from some team, probably the Pistons.
Which is still fair, I think, because...
Yeah, which is still fair. But it's just sad to see because he had potential. Like, this was his series. He had the most to gain from it and most to lose from it. and he just couldn't live up to the pressure.
Yeah, and yeah, the main thing is it's sort of similar to the Sixers series from last year, where he just really struggled with all the length that they could throw at him. He has not been able to get anything done in the paint, but neither has anyone else on the team other than like Lowry and Ibaka and OG. And I think you really see that in the free throw difference between both teams. The Celtics are getting a ridiculously higher number of free throws than the Raptors are. And that's what can make or break playoff games. And the Raptors, while they've been taking a lot of threes and the percentages look really bad, those have not been high quality threes, a lot of them, because they're not able to consistently penetrate the paint, especially Siakam, affect the defense and create open shots. And that's their bread and butter in offense, and that's just not been happening.
Yeah. What we also have to mention is Kemba Walker's defense. I thought
it's actually been low-key pretty good.
Yeah, I thought he was a huge defensive liability. I thought, honestly, he was a Steph Curry-esque defender, where Kyle Lowry and Fragment V were going to kind of lock him up and they're going to go off on him defensively. But he is trying his heart out. He is a really good defender. And obviously with the help of Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, Marcus Smart, and Tice, he's been able to hold his own, and he's been able to stay in front of these guys and, contest the shots. And obviously Kyle Lowry has made some difficult shots on him, and so has VanVleet, but he's kind of a key player. He's played much better defense than he usually does. And that's led to these blowouts, because when you see Kemba playing better defense, that's when these blowouts occur.
Yeah. And his passing too. I criticized him earlier when we did our top 10 point guards, calling him just a one-dimensional offensive player, just a scorer, not a playmaker. But he's actually been a pretty decent playmaker in this series, and we saw that with that pass to Tice with 0.5 seconds left. It ended up not mattering because they lost on that ridiculous shot by OG. But man, the passing has really been really impressive, I think, to me.
Yeah, and referring back to that list, we have to mention how poorly I rated Kyle Lowry. He's definitely a top 10 point guard, because because I used to say he just defers. No one on the Raptors are hearing anything, and he's able to keep them in games. For the most part. He's by far the best player on the Raptors team, in my opinion.
By far. It's not close.
And it's just scary to think of, because the Raptors, he's 34, 35.
34.
Yeah, he's not going to be this good next year. And the year after that, he's not going to be close to as good.
Yeah, especially because of they're playing a game every 2 days. He's playing 45 minutes a game.
Yeah.
And it's a short turnaround to next season. And
So this is going to be this Raptors team is going to be, I know a lot of people expected them to miss the playoffs this year, which is ridiculous. We had them both in our top 5 at least. So like next year's Raptors, it's going to be very interesting, because this team is getting a lot older. They have potential to lose VanVleet. It's going to be scary.
Yeah, I'm pretty scared, and I don't honestly have no explanation why Siakam has looked so bad. I'm just hoping that next season he looks like his old self. I was hoping he would increase that 23 points to 26 points next year and be even better. I'm just hoping he doesn't drop below 17 next season.
Yeah, I just hope he averages 20 points again. I just hope that he could get that mark again.
Yeah, I don't know.
So it's what we should talk about quickly. Yeah, since we both have the Raptors losing Game 6 and and we both have the Bucks losing Game 5, we need to talk about this Eastern Conference Finals matchup, the one that we never talked about, never ever mentioned, the Heat versus Celtics.
Crazy.
Wow.
No, where did that come from? I just got an update. Giannis out for Game 5. So all but confirmed that it's going to be Heat Celtics Conference Finals.
Yeah. And before we have the Raptors fans saying we're Rap haters, they still have a chance in the series. We just don't see them capitalizing on the chance.
I think.
But yeah. Go ahead.
I think the way having the momentum in the series and giving it up like that in being down by 32 points at one point, I think they're going to fight. I don't think they're going to get blown out in Game 6, but it's I just don't see it.
Yeah,
anyway,
and I just want to touch on so I just don't think they have that player that could coast them in a series closing game. Yeah.
I thought Pascal was gonna step up game 5. Didn't happen, and I've given up on him for this series. Just completely given up.
Yeah, for this year, I think he just needs to take a break.
Yeah.
Kind of. Yeah.
Anyway, so we're gonna see the Heat and Celtics in the Eastern Conference Finals, which is insane. I haven't even had time to think about a prediction for that. I'm just kind of with my gut gonna go with the Celtics, I guess.
Really, I have the Heat in 7 in that series. I think it's gonna be a long series again. This Raptors series was also long.
Yeah.
But the Heat have just been so dominant.
Man,
they swept the Pacers. They're gonna beat the Bucks in 5. Like, they're dominant. This is like people are underestimating how dominant this run has been from them. And I just think the defense, Bam is gonna be a very tough person for Jason Tatum to do anything on. Jimmy Butler is gonna be a very tough person for Jaylen Brown to do something on. They're gonna have to be able to throw Jay Crowder on like a smaller guard like Kemba. They're gonna have Iguodala off the bench too to throw on Tatum when you want to move Bam to the 5. Like, they have so much defenders that it's gonna be so tough for this team. Like, I really don't think Jaylen Brown has seen a defender that's like as good as Jimmy Butler ever.
No.
It's gonna
maybe you're right. Maybe it is a Heat series. It's gonna be long though. It's gonna be definitely 7 because the Heat aren't the biggest team in the world either, and they're not gonna be punishing that Daniel Tice. Daniel Tice is having a low-key really good series against the Raptors too. But
Daniel Tice is very underrated.
Yeah. But they don't have that one big guy, even though Bam's a small center and he does some good things in the paint, a lot of good things in the paint, but he's not just gonna destroy you for being small. But now that you list off all those defenders, and then I think about all the shooters they can throw at the Celtics, the Celtics are going to have a good defensive series too. I think it's going to be tough for the Heat to score a lot, but they just have the superior shooters. Maybe you're right. Actually, maybe I'm going to flip that. I'll go with Heat in 7 too.
Yeah, the only key factor is someone we haven't seen, Gordon Hayward, because if he could provide anything off the bench for the Celtics, because right now it's just Watermaker who comes in for Kemba and provides some useful minutes. But if you can add Gordon Hayward to that bench, and he's by far the best bench player in the NBA, in my opinion, if he accepts that bench role, oh man, that series is going to be amazing. I honestly expect every game to be close, and I expect it to go 7. I expect overtimes. I expect Jason Tatum home game winners. I expect Jimmy Butler game winners. I think it's going to be a legendary series.
Yeah, and we're going to see, but we're going to see Dragic go from being guarded by Bledsoe to being guarded by Marcus Smart, most likely. And
I don't know about that.
You don't think so?
You don't think Marcus Smart's going to be on Jimmy Butler the whole game? I think he is.
You don't think Jaylen Brown's going to be on Jimmy Butler?
I think No, I think they're going to try to rest Jaylen Brown on Jaylen Brown and Tatum on different guards, because Marcus Smart doesn't need to do anything on the offensive end. He kind of just plays defense and then chills on the offensive side and shoots threes like Steph Curry now and then.
Okay. Well, I mean, Jaylen Brown would probably end up on Dragic too. That's a hard matchup for.
That's a hard matchup
for Dragic too. But yeah, I think both teams are gonna have a really hard time scoring in that series.
Yeah,
for sure. And we don't need to make West Conference Finals predictions just yet, because those series are actually still really close. So
still competitive, yeah.
But hopefully we'll definitely know by next podcast. So I think that does it for this one. All right. Thank you everyone for listening, and hopefully by the next time we record, I mean, the Raptor series is going to be over one way or another. Hopefully by some miracle they win 2 straight, but I'm not.
We're not keeping our.
I'm not optimistic.
Yeah.
All right. We're out.
All right.